Hi everyone, this is Maura Sweeney, and welcome to episode 5 of the ABCs of Now. This is my special 26 episode series that takes you through the English alphabet, not from A to Z, but from Z all the way back to A, as we examine in each episode a letter of the alphabet along with a corresponding word that will help you navigate yourself from an inner place of peace and strength as we go through epic and seismic changes here and around the world. Expect that this series will speak to you anew. It'll remind you of things that you already knew about but probably forgot, and it will help bring about a stronger, taller, steadier, and brighter you as you emerge on the other side of change. The world is transforming, and it's going to be looking for a stronger, brighter, greater you on the other side so that you can be one of the co-creators and co-architects of all good things to come. So are you ready for episode 5? It's the letter V, as in victory. But today's word that I'm assigning to it is the word virtues. Now, at first glance, you might think this is a word that has to do with little old ladies who are doing some kind of needlepoint. But when you step into this word, I think you're going to be very, very surprised. And as we go along, you're going to see the power, the potency of this word and how it's going to help you navigate through times of change. Let's start first with the definitions of virtue, and I'm going to take it first here in the singular. Virtue is the quality of moral excellence. It's righteousness and responsibility. It's probity and goodness. Virtue is also looked upon as charity. Beyond that, virtue is conformity to standard morality or mores, as by abstention from vices. Virtue is a specific type of moral excellence or other exemplary quality considered meritorious. Meritorious, something worthy of merit. Think of a medal. It's a worthy practice or an ideal. Now here's another one that I thought was a very interesting definition for virtue. It's a particular efficacious or beneficial quality. It's a preferable quality or an advantage. An advantage. This one I loved as a definition. Virtue is defined as effective force or power. Imagine that. Who ever thought about virtue as being effective force or power? And this was probably the most curious of all. The obsolete meaning of virtue actually is manly courage. So I want you to think about living and stepping into the awareness of virtue as you're going through times of change, when the waters keep rolling around you and you're wondering where your sea legs are, that you can call upon your own inner virtue and express and live in that place of manly courage and even valor. Now there's more to this that really kind of got my interest. Were you aware of the fact that virtues in the plural, which is our word today, actually applies to an order of angels? Now again, you may think of angels as being these flirty, phantasmagorical figures that have no strength at all. But when you hear about the orders of angels and who and what they are, you'll get a completely different view. These orders of angels were looked into back in the 17th century, I believe, by a very wise man who not only looked into religious literature, but he also looked into secular literature and people's experiences. And what he did is he set up what he called the hierarchy of angels. something he deduced from all of his readings and research. When you hear about a hierarchy, I want you to think about different ranks, different levels of these angels. And I don't want you to think about them as being airy-fairy type angels that have no strength. Instead, I want you to think about them as being orders, very well-designed orders of supernatural beings whose presence and whose power exceeds that of humans. The actual orders consist of, number one, angels. Above them, archangels. Above them, principalities. Above them, dominions. And above them, virtues. Virtues. Now you still may be thinking, well, Maura, I really have nothing to do with religious people and maybe things written about in the Bible. But would you believe that secular leaders like George Washington and even Abraham Lincoln have reported on their beliefs in and experiences with angels? And I want you to think about them. Both of them were leading the nation during great times of change and eras and periods of time when these men needed a lot of their own intestinal fortitude. Imagine that. These virtues I want you to think about as a militaristic, when I say militaristic, as truly an order of very strong, ordered beings who have assignments, who are at certain levels of responsibility and power. Let me tell you what they actually, when I looked further into it, the virtues as an order of angels are known as angels of grace, who bring God's blessings to earth, usually in the form of miracles. They're known as the brilliant or shining ones, and they're associated with acts of heroism, and they bring courage when needed. Isn't that interesting when we look at the last obsolete meaning of virtue and we find manly courage and valor? How interesting that there's a special order or hierarchy of supernatural beings known as angels that live in that space. Imagine how powerful a mindset that is to step into the next time something happens in your life during this time of change. What can that do to your energy, your focus, and your internal compass? I want to give you synonyms for the word virtue, and then I want to give you the antonyms, and there's a reason why. Virtues in this episode is designed so that you can think about them, contemplate them, feel them, live within them, conjure them up within you so that you can act upon them when you need these virtues. So here are the synonyms, and they're powerful, just as I said at the beginning. Synonyms for virtue include advantage, character, ethic, faith, love, merit, purity, and righteousness. Now I want you even to imagine these supernatural beings operating in those qualities. And those qualities are latent within you as well. Now I want to give you the antonyms for virtue, because you'll see that all of these antonyms are words and energies that you could easily fall into during times of tumultuous changes. And you want to remember virtues to pull yourself out as an antidote. So here are the antonyms or opposites for virtue. They include disadvantage, dishonesty, evil, imperfection, meanness, disbelief, disrespect, unfairness, wildness, dishonor, immorality, and vice. Feel them? That's the place you will be tempted to fall into. And when you do, during times of change, I want you to remember to go back and think about and ruminate upon and call upon the virtue that lives within you. And remember the order of angels known as virtues that are above you and can literally bring courage to you when needed. I'm going to do just one more thing. When I was researching the word virtues again, I was actually able to find what's called the 7 virtues. Let's say qualities that fall within this idea of virtues. Here they are. First is faith. It's the belief in right things, or especially things that are often not seen. Secondly, hope, and that is taking a positive future view that good will prevail. Third is charity, and that involves concern for and active helping of others. It includes fortitude, which is never giving up. It's justice, being fair and equitable with others. Prudence, which is care and moderation with money. And temperance, the idea of moderation of needed things and the abstinence from things not needed. You have virtue and the power of virtues residing within you. Just like the box I talked to you about at the beginning of this podcast. And I said, it's an old box. You forgot about it. It became all dusty and we were opening it up again. You have the power, the resident power of virtues within you. I want you to remember them, think upon them, choose to live in them, and act them out wherever and whenever you feel led. I want to remind you too that the word values, or virtues rather, has the root word vir, as in virility. Virility, the actual power of strength, virile. If you're a woman, I want you to think about this word because it speaks to the strength that maybe you were guided away with or from and forgot that you had and possessed. If you're a man, when you think about virtues, I want you to know virtues are part of your manly courage and your resonant and resident power. So, the next time that you feel like you're going through the winds and the waves of change, I want you to remember this powerful letter, V, the word virtues, and I want you to remember that that's your home. Live there, exercise it, and expect you will become the power and the strength and the virility in the midst of the changes that you thought were going to overtake you. Now, that may be my thought for today on episode 5, but I want you to remember this. I want you to save this. I want you to listen to it again, and I want you to be sure to share this episode and this series with your friends. You are not going to believe how much you're going to be glad you did. So until next time and next episode, this has been Maura with Maura for you.